As we speak, there are three top European clubs searching for who their next manager will be come the season 2024-2025. But the speculation goes beyond just those three, with other clubs potentially looking, even though they still have some managers with themselves at this point in time. Welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert Kesakos is my name. Thank you to all those that have been watching our content throughout the course of this week, and we do encourage you to keep watching. Do not forget to subscribe. Anyway, today we'll be looking at Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Liverpool, as well as potentially AC Roma, Real Madrid, and Manchester United, with all the speculation surrounding all these clubs in their search for who their next managers will be. Yes, some of you may be wondering, why are we even mentioning Real Madrid when Carlo Ancelotti just signed a 2-year contract not so far back that will run until June 2026? Why are we speaking about Manchester United when they still have Erik ten Hag? But yes, Roma is among those. But for now, our main focus will be around the three of Bayern Munich, Barcelona, and Liverpool. All these three clubs are in search for who their next manager will be come next season. At Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp will be hanging up the boots after 9 years at the club. He joined the club in October 2015, replacing Brandon Rodgers. At Bayern Munich, Thomas Tuchel took over following the sacking of Julian Nagelsmann, while at Barcelona, Xavi Hernandez has also said he will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Now, all these three gigantic clubs will be in the market searching for who their next manager. But there's one common name that stands out in speculation linking to at least two of these three gigantic clubs, and that name is none other than Xabi Alonso, the Bayer Leverkusen manager, the new kid on the block that seems to be on the lips of every official in these top clubs. With respect to Barcelona, his name has not been mentioned, perhaps because he's a former Real Madrid player. It may not come easy to think that he would then choose to join Barcelona as a manager, but he is on the lips of Liverpool, where he played from 2004 when he joined them, being one of Rafael Benitez's signing when Rafael Benitez joined the club when he left Valencia. In 2005, he was winning the UEFA Champions League with Liverpool when they beat up AC Milan in that final on penalties. And then at Bayern Munich, where he finished his career, because after leaving Liverpool, he did join Real Madrid. And from Real Madrid, he switched allegiances to Bayern Munich, where he completed his career in 2017. Having hung up the boots, he went on to complete his UEFA elite coaching license, and he did complete that alongside the likes of Xavi Hernandez, who is currently at Barcelona. Last season, managed to win the La Liga and the Supercopa Hispana there. So, those are the names we are discussing. But more importantly, Xabi Alonso. It has been widely reported that both Liverpool and Bayern Munich are in deep admiration of the former Spanish midfielder who won the 2010 FIFA World Cup with Spain, as well as the 2008 and 2012 European Championships. That's the caliber of ex-player we are talking about. Having hung up the boots on his career in 2017 and went on to finish that coaching license, he went on to be the under-14 coach of Real Madrid. It is from there that he then joined Real Sociedad's reserve team, or Real Sociedad B team, in 2019 as their coach. Managed to earn them a promotion from the third-tier division to the Segunda division. That's, for those of you who do not know, Segunda is the division below the Spanish La Liga. So, whereas they were eventually relegated in his last season, he did leave quite an impression, but he left in 2022 to then join Bayer Leverkusen, not as head coach, because in the 2022-2023 season, it was after 8 games that they then sacked their manager and elevated uh, Xabi Alonso to the role of head coach as an interim. At least at the time, they did think so. At the time of him taking over at Bayer Leverkusen were second from bottom after 8 games in the Bundesliga. Eventually, he managed to see them finish 6th on the Bundesliga table and had them qualify for the Europa League, where they will be facing West Ham United from England in the quarterfinals of this year's edition. As far as last year's edition of the Europa League, he took them as far as the semi-finals. So that's the manager we are talking about. Present day, he has a Bayer Leverkusen topping the standings of the Bundesliga with 70 points, 10 points ahead of a second place Bayern Munich. Clearly, notwithstanding a miraculous occurrence, they are destined to lift the Bundesliga away from Bayern Munich, the reigning champions. So that's the kind of manager that we are speaking about. The hot cake around European football. They've hardly lost a game this season. Even when you thought they were going to lose on a given day, they found a way to fight back. At the knockout stages of the round of 16 in the Europa League this season, they managed to knock out Qarabag, who in both games had a 2-goal lead. The first leg, if I remember correctly, did end in a 2-2 draw, while the second leg ended in a 3-2 victory. So he has that never die attitude. And when it comes to the style of football that he does play, it does clearly fit both clubs that are in for his pursuit. That's for Liverpool and Bayern Munich. In terms of football, before that was at Real Sociedad B, he preferred a 4-3-3. And then he did deploy a similar system when he joined Bayer Leverkusen before switching back to a 3-4-3. Those are the kinds of combinations that he usually plays. And then he then retreated to a 3-4-2-1 formation. Now, in his style of play, he likes his teams to be very counter-pressing, to press high up the pitch. He likes to create midfield overloads with either his wing backs tucking into the midfield to help with the press, or when he has that double pivot, he calls on the double number 10s that he usually deploys to create that midfield overload. And then that leaves a bit of space for his wingers or wing backs to then run in spaces as soon as they win the ball. He loves to play with one striker. And in most of these teams that are in for him, over the years, they've loved to, play with one striker. Liverpool have predominantly played with a 4-3-3 system under Jurgen Klopp. We all remember that strong midfield of Gini Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson, Fabinho in that midfield, and then the front three of Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, and Roberto Firmino, with Roberto Firmino playing as the striker. That kind of sense. At Bayern Munich, they've always had that single striker leading the lines. In present day, it's Harry Kane. Previously, they had the Robert Lewandowski, who then left to join Barcelona, in that kind of sense. So they've always deployed that striker alongside the likes of Thomas Muller in recent times, alongside Serge Gnabry. And then usually they have that midfield of Joshua Kimmich, Leon Goretzka, and then somebody that is added onto that midfield to complete the midfield three. Even when you rewind things back, when Pep Guardiola was their manager, at the time when he converted Phil Plum from a right back to a midfielder. So all teams, we know them to love that, to play that fancy football that is very entertaining, but football that is very progressive, but football that scores loads and loads of goals. So Xabi Alonso's team does score quite plenty of goals. They do play very entertaining football. The way they attack the spaces, they like to play through the channels as soon as they win back the ball. Granit Xhaka, who they did sign from Arsenal in the summer, has been quite pivotal in that double pivot of the midfield. So Xabi Alonso is the hotcake for these clubs. And yesterday we did hear reports from Sky Germany saying that whereas he is yet to make that decision, it is speculated or reported that should he make the decision to leave Bayer Leverkusen, he will choose Bayern Munich over Liverpool. What could be his reasons? Does he feel already comfortable in Germany where he completed his career? It's been a while since he was in England because he did leave, I think, in 2010 to go join Real Madrid. So it's been quite a while. It could be a factor. But then also the other part that we cannot ignore is the different stages at which both clubs are at, either in their development or their competitiveness. Whereas Bayern Munich do find themselves in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League, where they will be facing Arsenal, it goes without saying that in the last 3 consecutive years, they've been knocked out at the same stage by teams like PSG, among others. So, this season, they are 10 points behind the table leaders. So clearly, the Bayern Munich project is at a low, going by their own standards or historical standards. They are on a low. So it would be easier to go at a team where they are on a low and try to elevate them than to go to a team where they're not necessarily at a low and then the expectation is for you to just push them over the line to win the title. That's where Liverpool are at. Whereas they're in this rebuild of their new team after last season's failure to finish in the top 4. This season, they are competing for the Premier League title. They are rebuilding that team with all the signings they've made, dating far back beyond a little last season. The likes of Darwin Núñez, who's coming, the likes of Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz, Ryan Gravenberch, who are signed this season, Alexis McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai. All these are players that are being signed or that have been signed to build this new Liverpool side. Even the temporary signings of Wataru Endo, although he's been quite a revelation in that midfield. On the other side, Bayern Munich did sign Harry Kane from Tottenham in the summer to try and elevate their status. But all the players that they do have, some of these players want to move on. The likes of Alphonso Davies, the left back. It is also been reported that Joshua Kimmich is open to leaving Bayern Munich the coming summer. Of course, they did lose players like Lucas Hernandez and Benjamin Pavard in the summer. Those were players who, in part, who struggled with injuries but needed to move on. The goalkeeper Manuel Neuer is coming of age. Leon Goretzka very soon will be moving on. So they will be looking to build a new team around the likes of Jamal Musiala. Leroy Sané, it's also been reported that Bayern Munich would be open to selling him. He's not the top player that we came to know of when he was at Manchester City, although his numbers this season are not that bad. He has a 21 goal involvement, having scored 9 goals and assisted 12 times this season. But they will be open to letting him go. So some of the other players around there, there's a Kingsley Coman, but also there's a new kid, Pavlovic. I hope I pronounced that name well, Pavlovic. We all remember in January they did sign Eric Dyer because they were struggling in defense, where they have Min Jae Kim, who was signed in the summer from Napoli. I do remember Manchester United were in the running for the same player. So he's one of those players that have been playing in defense. Of course, they have a Diet Upamecano. But in a nutshell, Bayern Munich want to rebuild their team. They want to build a new squad and go back to the top and be very competitive, not just at home, but also in European competitions. So they are looking at Xabi Alonso. So at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, at the end of the season, will be leaving quite a legacy. Whereas it may be debatable in some circles of the football fans, it goes without saying that it's been fairly good. Winning a UEFA Champions League, a league title, an FA Cup, and 2 League Cups. It's not bad. It's not bad. So clearly, you come if you're Xabi Alonso and you're choosing between Bayern Munich and Liverpool, they're both gigantic clubs. They do come with tons of pressure, especially in Germany. All the papers, all the media focus is on Bayern Munich because usually the Bayern Munich team forms the nucleus of the German national team. In England, Liverpool are highly regarded. very highly regarded club, very, very big club. So it also comes with its ton of pressure. But like I said, reports are saying if he were to choose between the two, should he decide to leave Bayer Leverkusen in the summer, he would choose Bayern Munich. That's what reports say. Nonetheless, it goes without saying that Bayern Munich are also looking at other potential candidates for the role of manager. And some of the names that have been mentioned is Manchester United is Erik ten Hag, because there have not been any reports that United and ten Hag are on the table to discuss a new contract. In fact, reports coming out of Manchester and across England have speculation that the club could decide to let him go. It is reported that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who has now controlling shares in the club, would prefer England manager Gareth Southgate to take over at Manchester United. He has coached a club before. He did coach Middlesbrough some years back before he joined the England national team. But while speaking about the same reports, Gareth Southgate did say he will not be dragged into the debate of discussing a club that has a manager, but more importantly, he has a job with the England national team and he is focused on winning them the European Championship. Remember, the Euros will be played in Germany come midway this year or in the summer. So, Erik ten Hag to Bayern Munich is one of the names that has been floated around. The other names are also Roberto Di Zerbi, the Brighton manager, highly regarded around European football, is one of the names that has been mentioned in that conversation. And then some wild reports, although seem remote, they have pointed fingers at former AC Roma, Manchester United, Tottenham, and Chelsea manager, as well as FC Porto, not to mention Real Madrid and Inter Milan, in Jose Mourinho. Reports say that he is learning German. Whether his German lessons are in any way connected to the potential of him taking over a role with Bayern Munich or any other German club, that remains to be seen. But fingers have been pointed in that direction. The reason as to why I personally doubt them is generally with his style of football. As good as a manager he is, as top as a manager he is, I do not think he would play the kind of football that Germans would appreciate at a team like Bayern Munich. Maybe he's changed. You could argue that. But I have my doubts there. Nonetheless, the name has been mentioned. The other name that has been mentioned, of course, in respect to Bayern Munich, is Zinedine Zidane. Now, we all know that that ever since winning those Champions League titles with Real Madrid, ever since then, Zinedine Zidane has gone mute in the world of football. There was speculation that he would go to Juventus and succeed Andrea Pirlo, but that did not happen. They ended up with the return of Massimiliano Allegri there, who is in charge. There was speculation that he would take over at PSG when Mauricio Pochettino left. That did not happen. They've since taken on Luis Enrique. So, clearly, the name has been mentioned. Not very highly, but it has been floated around. And then the other name mentioned. Not surprisingly, but it's actually expected to be mentioned in these kinds of conversation, although you doubt it will happen. I have my doubts. That name is none other than the current Liverpool manager in Jurgen Klopp. Whispers have been made around the Allianz Arena that he could be a potential candidate. Of course, he told the world that he will be leaving Liverpool to take a sabbatical, to sort of rest and, have time for his family and himself, that kind of thing. We know managers like Pep Guardiola did take a sabbatical when he left Barcelona in 2012. So, but his name has been mentioned. Is it remote that he would join Bayern Munich? I'm really not sure about the sentiments there. Him having been a Borussia Dortmund coach and then having to move to Bayern Munich, who are essentially their rivals. I do not know the sentiments they are in or the kind of rivalry, whether it could be to that extent. The way it is that it would be unthinkable for a former Liverpool manager to go and be a Manchester United manager and vice versa. Never mind that players like Mike Owen have played for both sides of the aisle. So, his name has been mentioned. Of course, he had a wonderful career in Germany, at Mainz, And then at Borussia Dortmund, where he won 2 league titles, that was in 2011 and 2012. Yes, he won the Bundesliga with Borussia Dortmund. He also took them to the 2013 Champions League final, where they lost to Bayern Munich by 2-1. So that's the kind of manager in Jurgen Klopp. We all know his track record at Liverpool. So he is one of those names that have been discussed as far as taking over at Bayern Munich is concerned. Then we move on to Liverpool. We have already discussed the possibilities of Xabi Alonso. He is a name that they are looking at. But should they fail to land Xabi Alonso, the other name that has been also speculated around Liverpool has been Roberto Di Zerbi. Yes, it has been mentioned. And then Ange Postecoglou of Tottenham. Although Postecoglou was quick to refute those rumors that he will not be leaving Tottenham anytime soon to join Liverpool. And then the other name that has been mentioned, I do not know how popular even the mere mention of it or the suggestion is, but that is of former Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard. Of course, we know things didn't work out for him at Aston Villa, having come out of Rangers with a decent record. His reputation, I do believe, was damaged for his time at Aston Villa. He has since gone to the Saudi Pro League, and I think it hurt. That's why he is flying his trade from. So I have my doubts over the mention of Steven Gerrard, although the bookies have mentioned the name. And then the other name for Liverpool has been Julian Nagelsmann. Julian Nagelsmann, the former RB Leipzig coach, he did quite very well with RB Leipzig, and then he went on to Bayern Munich, where he did win the Bundesliga title, and I thought he did perform really well. By the time he was sacked, they were just a point behind in the Bundesliga standings, below Borussia Dortmund, and then he was fired. And they took on Thomas Tuchel, who had been fired from Chelsea. I didn't think it necessitated that. I thought they could have been a little patient with him. But anyway, it is reported that Liverpool are also looking at him. He's currently with the German national team. And then the other name that has been mentioned is Ruben Amorim, currently the Sporting Lisbon coach. Still very young, 38 years of age, but is highly thought of in European football. So let's wait and see who these clubs will be narrowing down to. And then we move to Spain with Barcelona. Javi Hernandez said he will be leaving, of course, Barcelona. And what names are they looking at? Now, the Barcelona job is another difficult one because Barcelona is a very big club. The media in Spain, as far as football is concerned, usually revolves around Real Madrid and Barcelona, and all the other clubs sort of are second tier to them. So it's a job of huge pressure. And not so long ago, Pep Guardiola was asked where the pressure is more, whether between Manchester City and Barcelona, and said it was definitely Barcelona. So Barcelona are in the hunt for a manager. Ever since Pep Guardiola left in 2012, they have always been on the search for the next Pep Guardiola, the next sensational manager. And when Pep Guardiola left in 2012, of course, he was succeeded by Tito Villanova, his then deputy. Then after 1 year, unfortunately, Tito Villanova passed on due to cancer, but he managed to win them the La Liga title. Once he left, they brought in Gerardo Martino, the Argentine. I think he won the Supercopa Hispana, and then he left after 1 year. Tito Villanova was there between 2012 and 2013. So Gerardo Martino comes between 2013, 2014, and then starting from 2014, 2015 season, they brought in Luis Enrique, I think from Celta Vigo at the time. When he came in, he won 2 La Liga titles and 1 Champions League title when they beat, I think, Juventus by 3-1 in the 2015 finals there. So he did quite incredibly well, but after 3 years, he left Barcelona and he was succeeded by Ernesto Valverde. Ernesto Valverde also performed well for me, winning some La Liga titles there. That was between 2017 and 2020. He was fired. Then Kike Setien comes in January 2020, and he only lasted 28 months because in August 2020 he was also let go. When Kike Setien left, then came Ronald Koeman. Things did not work out for Ronald Koeman, their former player, and Barcelona were sort of in a bad shape, in a horrible state of things. And then that's how Javi Hernandez came in November 2021. So Javi Hernandez comes in, he won them the La Liga title last season, and he's competing to win the La Liga title again this season, although he's still falling behind Real Madrid in terms of the table standings. So ever since that Pep Guardiola, sensational spell, they've always been looking out for who the next top coach is, the next Pep Guardiola, and they've not been shy to look on the inside when they gave the job to Tito Villanova, Luis Enrique, I think, Ernesto Valverde. All those have been great coaches. So they're in the hunt for their next manager. Like I did say, Xabi Alonso has not mentioned in their circles, but Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has been mentioned in the conversations of Barcelona, but he came out to refute them. And I do think with some of the problems that are going on with Barcelona, I do not think that Mikel Arteta would be eager to leave his Arsenal project to go and join Barcelona. So, again, have my reservations there. I do not think he would make that move. He himself said he felt annoyed by the mere suggestion of those rumors at the time. Then the other name they are looking at Barcelona, of course, is Hans Flick. Hans Flick Hans Flick is the former Bayern Munich manager. He's the one that they let go before Julian Nagelsmann came in. Of course, he went on to have a stint with the German national team. So that's the manager we're talking about. I do think he was quite decent. I did think he wasn't given quite enough time with Bayern Munich. Maybe the pressure got the better of him at the end of the day, but Barcelona are considering Hans Flick. The other name that is being thought about, of course, at Barcelona is Roberto Di Zerbi. Looks like Roberto Di Zerbi is in the options for these big clubs. All these big clubs. He's a decent manager. He's done really well with Brighton. Managed to push them to finish 6th last season, and they did reach the knockout stages of the Europa League, although they were knocked out by AC Roma 4-1 on aggregate. Then the other name that has been also mentioned is Thiago Motta, currently at Bologna. So those are some of the names that have been mentioned to the extent of who will be the next Barcelona manager. Now, this has not been widely reported in the media, but here every now and then you sort of hear the mild suggestions of Jurgen Klopp going to Barcelona. Whether it will be an option for him, that remains to be seen as well. So, those are the top 3 clubs with their respective hunts for the next manager. But like I did mention, Manchester United has been echoed in the conversations ever since Sir Jim Ratcliffe came to the club. We've had a mention of new names in terms of who the Manchester United manager could be. We had the mention of Graham Potter, the former Brighton and former Chelsea manager. And then, of course, in Italy, AS Roma could potentially be also in the market for a manager. Following the sacking of Jose Mourinho, they brought on Daniel De Rossi, who has done incredibly well. And I was speaking to a colleague of mine, and I was asking him whether he does think that AS Roma may consider giving Daniel De Rossi a full-time role, although the argument had been that it will be interim and then he goes back to his Slovenian national team football. So as the head coach there. So potentially it could be that Daniel De Rossi is persuaded to take on the full-time job the way AC Milan did with Stefano Pioli, because he also came in as interim and then he did quite the magic, and then they ended up giving him the job and he won them the Scudetto, the Italian Serie A title. So it could go either way. But then also it begs the question that should these clubs be able to get the managers they want? Some of these managers may be leaving certain clubs. What does that mean for those clubs? The likes of Bayer Leverkusen, if they are to let go of Xabi Alonso, if you are to let go of Roberto Di Zerbi, if you're Brighton, then you have to look for a new manager. I do understand that Roberto Di Zerbi has a buyout clause for a coach of about £12 million. Should any club wish to, take him, they would have to buy out his contract for about £12 million. So anyway, that's it about the hunt for the next manager. Do let me know what your thoughts are, what you think the ideal manager should be for these top clubs, especially at Liverpool, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich. If you think Manchester United should retain Erik ten Hag as things are, I think he'll be eager to win himself the FA Cup title, where they do play Coventry in the semi-finals, if he is to brighten his chances of staying. Otherwise, this season has not really looked decent. Last season he won the Carabao Cup, so if he goes on to win the FA Cup this season, it could be a small sign of progress in one way or the other. So do let me know what your thoughts are. That's it for me. Thank you for always taking the time to watch. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue growing. Have a blessed weekend.